Yeah, you can't really believe it until you see it, but this is Australia, a country where just previously, not so long ago, there was a massive Black Lives Matter protest, but now the police officers are literally detaining, ripping the phone out of an old lady's hands, and arresting her for the horrible crime of sitting down in a park bench. This is not an exaggeration. It is not a joke. Actions like this are taking place all throughout Australia, and if it's not the elderly, if it's not grandma and grandpa, it's journalists that, of course, are reporting on the totalitarian actions that are taking place there, and if an officer doesn't like the reporting, well, the journalist will also get arrested. Support Black Lives Matter? Yep, that's totally fine in Australia. Have all the protest you want. Speak out and believe the government is being heavy-handed? Well, this is what you're going to face. Literally, the communist totalitarian states of North Korea and China are literally blushing with such news. Welcome back, beautiful and amazing human beings. This is Lukadowski of wearechange.org. And in this video, we will be discussing the latest insane nonsense regarding the conholio sickness, which we have to call the conholio sickness, which we can't accurately even talk about on YouTube. We're also going to be talking about the larger economic ramifications from these insane government actions. Also, Donald Trump was nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize. We'll talk about that. Plus, the CNN chief's Jeff Zucker brown nose for Donald Trump. And we're going to get into that, plus a lot more, all on this independent media organization that is mainly supported by you. And one easy way to support us is by checking out some of the businesses that I personally work with, that I personally purchase products from, that I endorse and I like. And one of them is safepreparedandready.com. They have pretty good storable food that I enjoy while I am camping. Now, they are experiencing some shipping delays, but as a product, I just ordered some myself. I had some before. I really like them, and I think you will too. You could always get a bag of rice and beans for emergency survival food. I definitely recommend that, but if you're looking for something fancy, something that gives you a lot of options, check out safepreparedandready.com. Now, 2020 has been an absolutely crazy year. It's also been a very bad year for a lot of people, and we have to understand, this bad year happened not because of a sickness, but mainly because of government. It was governments worldwide that proved themselves totally incompetent to handle any situation thrown at them. It was government that shut down and locked down businesses, promising that it was only going to be for 2 weeks, and yet we are still here in October with major, massive lockdowns, even though infection rates and death rates have been dropping dramatically all throughout the United States. Now, these are very important factors to really understand here, since, of course, even NPR is talking about the mounting evidence suggesting that the conholio sickness is not as deadly as anyone thought. And we have to remember that the CDC, along with many other government agencies, have been absolutely wrong with their models and predictions time and time again. There are too many extensive examples of tests just being inadequate, not working, showing duplicitous results, and yet still, somehow that just doesn't matter, and government still wants to take more and more away from you because of this conholio sickness, where even now, in Los Angeles, the government released new guidelines for a holiday 2 freaking months from now. Yes, from 2 months from now, we are going to be going through Halloween. And now, already, the government of Los Angeles put out their guidelines saying that there will be no trick-or-treating, no parties, no carnivals, no festivals. And as one person points out here, he says the optics of police officers arresting trick-or-treaters in Democratic-run cities 3 days before Election Day is going to be, quote, spectacular. And not to be outdone in their utter hypocrisy, idiocy, where many politicians who enforce these rules don't follow it themselves, we, of course, have the fallen state of New York that is adding more restrictions, more guidelines, has just added more states to its mandatory quarantine list, which New York City is databasing and spying on people's cell phones to enforce, by the way. As of course, we have government officials like Governor Andrew Cuomo that in one day promote mass gatherings and protests, while the next day, of course, slamming people for having a little gathering in a park. And when confronted with such utter hypocrisy, promoting a protest while bashing a social gathering, when asked about this buffoon, drunken on power, said that college parties are different than Black Lives Matter protests that literally happened in the same park just a few days ago because, quote, the BLM protests were gatherings where there were not many people from out of state. What? Yeah, literally, they're just making up their own interpretations, their own lies, their own demented way of thinking, as if it wasn't more apparent than ever that these are just power-tripping monsters. This is the same governor, by the way, that just decreed himself, even though he doesn't really base this on science, that he won't be allowing the city to reopen indoor dining, not because of everyone's safety, but because if indoor dining is allowed, they would allow bars to open at the same time, and there, quote, wouldn't be anyone to, quote, enforce these made-up arbitrary rules that he just declared himself. Again, this is the death warrant of the New York City restaurant business. The New York governor will only open up restaurants if he gets enough Gestapo city statist workers to be able to monitor and patrol all of them, of course, paid for by tax dollars, which, again, there's going to be less and less of in New York City since anyone with just any thinking mind is leaving that hellhole. But just when you thought the big brother nanny state couldn't get more ridiculous, we literally have government officials calling for police officer nanny statists to go around every restaurant that is open to make sure that they are following some kind of insane guidelines that they are enforcing on them. And if a business is not following the laws, the made-up laws to the T, they, of course, will be heavily fined and punished. As we're finding out from distressed bodega owners, if you don't know what bodega means, it's pretty much just a corner store, convenience store that has everything for you. That is not CVS or Walmart, but predominantly just independently run. But specifically, bodega owners are complaining that they are getting attacked because they're trying to enforce some of these ridiculous rules, and the people entering their businesses are literally fighting them when they try to do so. And there's a number of videos online and on social media of bodega owners and workers getting the crap beat out of them because they're trying to enforce social distancing, mask wearing, which, of course, if they don't, a pathetic little whiny government statist worker will come around and take away their liquor license. Yes, that's literally what's happening right now. There's a squad of government snitch squad officers working for the government going around, and if they catch a person inside of a bodega without a mask on, which these poor store owners have to enforce now, if they catch a random person walking in there without a mask, the bodega loses its liquor license, and that's just the first infraction of many that are being put on the city, which, by the way, has an infection rate of less than 1%. The amount of pain and suffering that this decision will cause to so many hard-working people in New York City is insurmountable. Again, these people are utterly insane, not knowing the havoc and pain and suffering that they are causing regular human beings. And we are seeing time and time again just abuses continue by the authorities who are doing exactly what they're told. But very oddly, when it comes to promoting the divide and conquer agenda, when it comes to Black Lives Matter that seems to be exempt from all these rules, the police officers literally stand back and, in many cases, as documented, allow them to loot, allow them to abuse verbally, mentally, and physically individuals that they don't like, and they just stand by and watch many times as this happened. But if you're caught without a mask, if you're a grandma sitting in the park, the full ramifications of the police state will be used against you to punish you to its fullest extent. And that is absolutely insane and should not be tolerated. We are headed into a recession that the world has never seen before, as we are seeing the scale and speed of job loss never before seen in recent human history. Look at this data. Look at the charts. Look at what happened in 2020 with people losing their livelihoods, again, not because of a sickness, but because of an insane government. Supply chains have been disrupted. This is still just the beginning of the major pain and suffering that is on its way, since, of course, economic ramifications usually take a lot longer to finally settle in. Food prices are on the rise. There's a lot of speculation and fear of possible shortages coming, hence why I started working with one of my partners again. The projections of what's coming looks devastating, while, of course, the super rich only become richer. And there's some estimates highlighting how close to 50 million Americans will be fighting hunger by the end of the year. Again, economically, the average person is devastated. The lower and middle class is being eviscerated, and this is all being done in, quote, the name of safety and security, and that's as Orwellian as it could get. If you're not angry about this, you're not paying attention. Now, still, depending on you as a human being, your own personal risk, your own personal factors, you should take your medical condition seriously. Should the government do it? No, because just like everything government has done, it has completely ruined. So yes, please do take your health seriously. Take whatever precautions you want, but please, please never, again, never think that government is the solution. And that's something that we've been preaching from day one, and I think that's more important than ever right now. And by the way, how can you trust a government that aided and abetted child trafficking rings for decades, with local law enforcement, detectives, judges, politicians, all, of course, playing a hand in it? That should be one out of a gajillion other reasons why you should absolutely never put your faith in a central controller. And in related news, we also got the update that Jeffrey Epstein's 727 Boeing airplane, which, by the way, is also the same model of airplane that's the CIA's favorite kind of airplane, since, of course, it also has a hatch at the back end of it that could be opened mid-flight without decompressing the entire airplane, and you can conveniently throw things out as you're flying. And now we're finding out that that Boeing airplane has been left desolate on a Georgia runway. And now the last little bit of news that we're going to be getting into right now is related to the video that we did yesterday on U.S. President Donald Trump. I would definitely watch that video to give you more further context about the complexity of this larger foreign policy directive, where Donald Trump just recently announced that he's going to be doing some kind of drawdown of U.S. military troops in Iraq and Afghanistan. Now, this, of course, is not a full withdrawal. He is moving 2,000 troops from Iraq this month. The number of troops leaving Afghanistan is still unknown, but the United States will still have a significant presence there, as it's still expected that there will be 3,000 U.S. troops in the region. This is on the heels of U.S. President Donald Trump saying that the top Pentagon brass sends U.S. forces to war to make defense contractors happy, as he said yesterday. We did a full breakdown of that in yesterday's video. And in light of this news, we have a Norwegian lawmaker that is nominating Donald Trump for the 2021 Nobel Peace Prize, specifically for brokering diplomatic ties between Israel and the UAE. Now, of course, this is significant, especially when you look at the fact that Donald Trump has broken the 39-year-old streak of U.S. presidents starting a new war. He has not done so, but he has brought us very close to starting one. Again, two other important highlights to understand here. There still will be a major significant deployment of U.S. troops in Iraq and Afghanistan. This is not a full withdrawal. And two, we have to look if these troops will be replaced by military contractors, since that is also another possibility that could be played out here, which will continue the long streak of destabilizing nations as American foreign policy. Now, again, a lot of people are conflicted on this issue. I still say we should be more skeptical than optimistic here and always push for more peace and for more troops to be home instead of abroad. And one thing we all have to understand here is that politics is a big game. It's a big show. And behind the scenes, just like wrestling, We have a lot of things that are set up that are engineered without the public's knowledge, as recently uncovered from new tapes recording between the CNN chief Jeff Zucker and Michael Cohen, where we find out Jeff Zucker was literally brown-nosing Donald Trump during the last presidential election. Zucker was trying to give him advice and even offered up Donald Trump a weekly TV spot. There's no joking. That's literally what happened from the president of the main network that has been extensively attacking him. And we should all understand that people are completely different when they're in private and, of course, when they are in public. That's the name of the game. Two-faced, lying, hypocritical bastards. All of them are filled with it. All of them don't want to tell you the truth, and I'm sick of it. So yeah, if you're sick of it as well, share this video with your friends and family members. It's more important than ever, mainly because just speaking about this topic puts us on the chopping block of YouTube that already screws us over very heavily by making sure none of people see us in the algorithm. So yes, only very few people do, and that of course is just slowly dwindling down. And the one reason why I'm still here is because of you. And that's why I love you guys. Stay tuned for more here on wearechange.org.